Media player. Cool. All right. Let's do that again. Cool. Alrighty. For those that were here last year, you know how this works. For those that are new to this, we are going to reel these tracks 4 at a time, from the 16 seeds to the 1 seeds. So with that, let's get to work. Let's do this. The 16 seeds of HCRL Track Madness 2026 are as follows. They are Mammoth, Splashdown, Squimgr Zoo, and Rooftops SX. Mammoth is a whiskey warm Halo 3 terrain track on Avalanche. There's some intersections, there's some fun jumps in here. Pretty classic old school terrain track on H3 from Whiskey Warm. Splashdown from Office, or Off-Riss as we like to call him, is a collision Supercross DRL track based in a water park. It's a pretty unique setting, one of the most unique settings that we've seen for a DRL track. Squimgr Zoo, made by Wes Squeezu and Kim Jiaru, a long mixed terrain conky track with narrow parts, a dish section, narrow terrain bits everywhere, conk everywhere. Just to put it lightly, this track is nutty, it's huge, and it's a fun time, and it just makes it into the bracket. And then Rooftops SX, Trip Mine 413 forged this one. This is the second time that this track has made it into HCRL Track Madness, and it was also, funny enough, a 16 seed last year. In this track, you drive along the rooftops, you don't die. If you slow down, you're going to fall off and die. This is a bit of a classic track, yeah. We've raced it multiple times, it's always a carnage fest, and it makes it as a 16 seed in HCRL Track Madness 2026. 4 down, 60 to go, everybody. The 15 seeds are as follows. Hydro Electro, Hippopotamonstros Capeliofob, Slenderman, and Premier SX. Hydro Electro, also made by Kim Jiaru. You're going to hear that name quite a lot. You're going to hear a few names quite a lot. A multi-layer collision track based in a water factory, a water filtration plant. I don't know what he would call it, but it's a bit of a unique track. It uses some very unique pieces. I honestly find this track super fun. That water section, it's the second half of the lap. I think it's really, really cool looking. And then we have Hippopotamonstros Capeliofob, made by Nuked Ice Cream, his first contribution to HCRL Track Madness this year. A vortex terrain track with a bit of a Joker section. Don't know if we used it in the actual tournament. This track might be known for having a crazy shortcut, not really a crazy shortcut, but a pretty, famous shortcut that you go between the rocks for. Slenderman, made by Squeezu and Nuked Ice Cream. It was made for the Halloween Forge contest some time ago, and you see the picture here. You can see the map clearly, right? When you're actually playing this map, it's foggy as hell. You can't see anything, it is a jump scare waiting to happen, and considering that it's super high speed, yeah, it's a wild time. Oh yeah, there's some collisions as well, just to add the jump scare factor even more. And then Premier SX, made by Armada223, a name that you would see more in HRL circles, but he gets one here in HCRL, an old school Halo 4 SX. This might have been from the ORL days. Somebody can, quote me on that. I don't even know the history of this track, but it's cool to see Armada be represented in Track Madness 2026. Alrighty, the 14 seeds are Groovier Grove, Devil's Crossroads, Coprophemia, and River Rapids TRS Reach. Groovier Grove, a Squeezu creation. It is a terrain track on Ridgeline where there's explosives in some parts. There's parts of the actual map, like some of these little light markers that you have to watch and not roll over. But otherwise, a fairly fun, very interesting terrain track out of West. Devil's Crossroads, made by Nuke Ohio and Spider Case. The Nuke Ohio version of this map's honestly kind of a Mario balloon battle style map. I think that's what he made it for. But Spider Case saw it and was like, this would be a fun little collision DRL map. And thus he put some checkpoints on it. And with that, we have a DRL map. Coprophemia from Orion Hardy 84, a Skytrack collision track. There's some huge hills, there's helicopters in the background. This was raced multiple times, I think. The second time we raced this, it was slightly adjusted by Spider Case, where the upper collision part, which wasn't even the collision part, I don't think, you know, in the sense that it is now, had like an added intersection in there. It was wild. And then River Rapids TRS on Reach, made by Cinder. It is a recreation of the HRL TRS classic River Rapids from Halo 4, made by Papa Slaunch. And, you know, Cinder thought that track was fun and decided to make a Reach version. And it's equally as fun, I must admit. The 13 seeds are as follows. Verified, Daybreak, aka Hit Review Quebec, The Taint Twister, and Garbage. Verified is another map from Office where there's some big jumps, there's some rollovers that look like there's big jumps, there's some narrow bridges to cross, there's crossovers. It is a Halo 4 Impact classic. Daybreak, Hit Review Quebec by Cox6974. It's a pretty simple terrain track on Longbow, but it's really fun, and everybody enjoyed it, voted for it a lot in the tournament that it was raced in, and it makes its way as a 13 seed. The Taint Twister from Bromaniac 35. He had 15 maps in HCRL Track Madness 2025, but this year, and this is his first this year, there are many maps like it, many taints. The Taint Twister of 1969, frickin' Taint Twister 2. This is the OG. This is the granddaddy of them all. And it makes it to the bracket. And then we have Garbage, another Nuked Ice Cream creation. A Skytrack collision map with a hole at the beginning of the track that, if you don't know, if you don't have elite ball knowledge, you'll probably fall into the hole right off the start. So yeah, don't go straight in the middle when you start on this map. For the love of God, please don't do that. Alrighty. That's good. Daybreak is genuinely great, not just despite its simplicity, but in part because of it. Agreed! All these tracks, and admittedly all these tracks are great. They had to be great to get votes. They all deserve a place here. And I'll say it, you know, I don't even know if Nuke is here, I'm surprised he's not here. But just because these tracks are low seeded, doesn't really mean too much. As Nuke put it, the seeds don't really matter too much. These tracks are all over the place, because the way they get in, you know, it's a little crazy, but you have to be good to get in the first place. But yeah, the seeds don't matter except for, you know, just making it to the bracket, you know, to begin with. So the 12 seeds are Grandview, Bimbury Drop, Tekapnix, and Cold Winter's Crash. Grandview is a classic older Reach Forge World Nationals created by Alan Keys 1. You may know him as Brad Allen 15, but funny enough, they changed their gamer tag recently, and actually Alan Keys appears in the montage that you saw at the beginning of the stream on the clip on Outbreak where Hatter gets T-boned by 2 people. You see him there. Bimbury Drop, made by Cinder, and H2A, Halo 2 Anniversary getting representation in HCRL Track Madness 2026. Where you drop down, there's some collision points, and I dare you to gas it through the bush section, because sometimes it works and sometimes you die. The Cat Mix, made by Nuked Ice Cream, a long impact track with a lot of motocross elements, mixed terrain elements, crossovers aplenty. This track is wild, and it's quite fun. And then Cold Winter's Crash, also made by Cinder, a collision roundabout Christmas Forge here, where you go through the roundabout, you go into the section that's on the bottom of that picture, you go back to the roundabout, you go into the base, you go back to the roundabout, and you go back to the starting finish, and everybody dies, and everybody gets conked everywhere, and it's a great time. Actually, tough seed. There's going to be tough seeds all over the place, Barry, just you wait. The 11 seeds are as follows. Crisscross Applesauce, River Rapids TRS Halo 4, Seabound Circuit, and Sunny Creek Motocross. Crisscross Applesauce, not the first time we've seen this in HCRL Track Madness. It was a 2 seed last year. This year not getting quite as high up, but again, it makes the dance, and we'll see what it can do in its second go-around in this tournament. It's an out-of-bounds pitfall track. It was made for the out-of-bounds pitfall forge contest some time ago, and it crosses over itself a lot. It's a short track, as most of these out-of-bounds pitfall tracks are. There's Spider. Hell yeah. Yeah, so this track's conky, but it's very fun. River Rapids TRS Halo 4. Hey, remember when I was talking about how the Reach version was a recreation of Slaunch's Halo 4 version? Guess what? here's the Halo 4 version. Here's the OG, one of the OG TRS tracks from the old HRL days, made by Slaunch. So you got both River Rapids in here. Which one's going to go farther in the bracket? Will either of them win their first round matchup, because technically they are underdogs? We'll see. Seabound Circuit, created by Noodles, a collision track, bit of an old school one here. You may know it as a track that might have had a cheese line in there, but despite you cross over a lot, and then it's a linear collision track at the start. It's wild stuff. And then Sunny Creek MX, which was made by men on Halo 4, a ravine motocross. Very fun track though, but it's also I love the tracks that just have like a million names on them. It's fantastic. But fun motocross made by the men there. Alrighty, the 10 seeds. What are they? Insel Renin, BMC, but it's a collision course, Column Slalom, and the Morb, the Merrier. Insel Renin, a Nuked Ice Cream creation. We have 2 Nuked creations, 2 West creations in this one. Nuked Ice Cream, a mixed terrain that goes through the island on Forge World. Bunch of caves, it goes through that middle cave, it crosses over a bunch, and it has a tube section that you drive straight through, and then you do a rollover over into the cave section. Honestly, one of my favorite tracks, but we'll see what you guys think. BMC, but it's a collision course, created by Nuked. It's Bernolio Moto Complex, but it's a collision course. Basically, it's like the first half or first 60% of BMC, and then it's turned into a linear collision track where you drive back the other way, and it's carnage. And in fact, we have raced this just recently, so this one might be fresh in some of your guys' mind. 10 seed is West versus... Okay, so, Barry, I should explain this. These tracks are not facing off against each other, Barry, so you'll see as we go through it, you'll see what the matchups are once we get, a couple seeds through this. Nuke is washed. We'll see. Alright, Column Slalom by Wes. Slaloms, cuts back and forth. It's basically reverse shoot, if you guys remember that map from Kim Jigaru. Basically, you go through the slalom in the middle, and then you go to the left, and then you go back and forth across that whole section. It's wild. And then the More the Merrier is a reach forward world motocross, but it has a couple of unique parts and jumps in there. That tube section at the end in particular is certainly one of the cooler little sections that I think that leads to that start finish up. It's super cool, not gonna lie. But again, I should mention, so we're on this screen. You see these gray boxes? These are all the lower seeds. The actual matchups we're going to be revealing over time. So, Mammoth, let's see, the 16 seed is going to be going against the 1 seed in that region. So you have the red region, the green region, the blue region, the yellow region. The red region's at the top left of the bracket, the green region's at the bottom left, blue region is at the top right, yellow region is at the bottom right, and all these tracks are going to match up. It'll make sense once we get to it. Let's just keep going here. The 9 seeds. Okay, got it? Yeah. If you've ever seen NCAA March Madness, it's the same thing. The 9 seeds are Dagobah DRL, Cliffside Chicken, Vorstrut, and Rock Hard Work Now Baby. Dagobah DRL, made by Populare. It's a close quarter collision track where there's really not much room to go. The goal is to get in the hut and get out of the hut as quickly as you can. Drive through the mist, you must. There will be inevitable matchups between maps made by same person there. Yep. Or am I allowed to say that on Twitch? Fuck you. Anyway, but yeah, Dagobah, Star Wars reference. A lot of this track's crazy. That hut gets claustrophobic quite fast. Cliffside Chicken, made by Duquesne23. This track known for having that double helix section at the beginning, but you also have that terrain section in the middle as well that gets crazy. This is a classic track, and it makes its way into the bracket. Vorstrut, we got some Beano 5 action. Got 2 of them in the 9 seed bracket here. A vortex terrain track where that 270-degree corner that's in the top left of that picture, you hit that 3 times in 1 lap. So yeah, there's collisions all over the place. It's a wild thing. And then Rock Hard Work Now Baby. Its second HCRL Track Madness appearance. It was a 10 seed last year. It is a 9 seed this time. There's rocks. It is basically a half pipe where you go back and forth around those struts. And Ben, you're just honoring his memory. I swear to God, he's still alive. We're just honoring his memory. Alrighty, we're halfway there. 32 tracks down. 32 to go. What's up, Donut? Welcome to the show. Take a drink of water. Make sure that the music still has... Okay, we're 15 minutes into this thing. Cool. We're right on pace. So now, we're going to get into matchups here. We're going to reveal the 8 seeds. Now you're going to start to see some of the matchups. Not even halfway, still got HQ to go. Edward, I had 3. We had to do HRL last year as well. There were 3 of these, alright? How do you think I was dying by the time we got to the HRL bracket. I'm going to be dying by the end of this too, so... Fuck it. Alright, the 8 seeds and the first matchups that will be revealed are as follows. The 8 seeds are Construction Site, Shoot, Big Hog's Jumpy Goose Circuit, and DK Down Bad. Construction Site is a zombie ZZZ forge, a collision track amongst a construction site that's in the water. The lap is basically 2 halves where you go back and forth across the map. You go through different parts of the site. You go into the freaking like double, triple decker section. There's an invisible hut that's blocked by these oddball spawns. So you're basically driving through a wall there. You go through that loop twice in the lap. Basically goes back and forth a lot, but it's a classic track. We've raced this multiple times, I believe, as well. Lobotomy GK, that's another West track. No wait, I just revealed the 7 seed. Sorry about that. Shoot, Kim Jiaru. Let me actually put this on the top of my screen. Yeah, spoiler alert, Lobotomy GK's in here as well. Lamau, we'll get to that in a second. Oops. Shoot by Kim Jiaru. Its second HCRL track Madness appearance, and I mentioned this track before. It was a 7 seed last year, it's an 8 seed this year, where you slalom through the map, and then you come back through the chute, you come back through the pallets that are blocking the way, and then you go into the middle where there's like some of the, one of the pylons or whatever you call it, in like the erosion under the base, whatever. Spoiler account. If I do this properly, I didn't have any spoilers last year. I didn't do it once. I didn't do it at any point last year, but oh well, it was bound to happen. Big Hog's Jumpy Goose Circuit, made by Sully, his first contribution in this bracket. There is a Hog variant of this track, but this is the Goose variant. It's a simple, jumpy course where all the jumps work. They do, I promise. And then DK Down Bad, made by Kim Shiaru. It's basically a point-to-point track where at the beginning of the lap, you make a left, you go into a teleporter, it shoots you to the top of the map, and then you're just going downhill, and it is a journey. That is all I'm going to say. There's conch everywhere, and it is a journey. Well, I'm out. And these first matchups, the 8 and 9 seed matchups in the first round will be Construction Site versus Dagaba DRL, Shoot versus Cliffside Chicken, Big Hog's Jumpy Goose Circuit versus Force Strut, and DK Down Bad versus Rock Hard Work Now Baby. And now the 7 seeds are as follows. D-Mills Fills Me, Lobotomy GK, Normal MX, and Cat Blender. D-Mills Fills Me, made by Cats Be Kidding Me. One of the maps in a long line of the D-Mills saga. It's a mixed terrain collision inside one of the rocks of Forge Island, so that's why it looks weird with the bordering. There's a bit of a helix session that you have to make sure you get your checkpoints. There's rocks everywhere. There's some fun jumps that definitely work. They do. I'm just bad. Copium. But yeah, sick track here. Raced this multiple times in DRL. Lobotomy GK, made by Wes. It's an erosion GK inside the Griffball Arena. There's some pallets that you use as curves. There's a split session in well. There's some teleporters that you have to dodge. D-Fills, yeah. Yep, D-Mills kills me, D-Mills fulfills me. There's like 20 of those maps. I mean, Jake can... Ask Jake how many of those D-Mills maps there are. There's gotta be at least a dozen. But yeah, Lobotomy GK, the go-kart inside the Griffball Arena on erosion. But quite a fun one as well. Narwhal MX, a Forge World motocross, but it's a very clean one. So there's a corner jump in here. The hip transfer jump is one of the best in the game. Old school Purple. I don't know if Purple's watching this or he'll ever see this, but yeah, this is one of many classic tracks that he's had. And then Cat Blender, made by Kimchi, where it's not exactly a track. It's an experience where you drive in and you have to chase the golf balls because the golf balls actually hold the checkpoints. It's actually kind of crazy how that works. But yeah, Kimchi made it work, and it is a wild time, and it is the 7 seed in the bracket. And these matchups for the 7-10s are going to be D-Mills Fills Me versus Install Running, Lobotomy GK versus BMC But It's a Collision Course, Narwhal MX versus Column Slalom, and Cat Blender versus the Morb the Merrier. There's some fun ones there. Alrighty, the Sid Seeds. Imagine playing that on the HD game type. Would it work? I don't know, Spider, you tell me, would it work? The Sid Seeds are as follows: Snowballs, Eiffel Tower, GDQOC, and Asparagussy. Yes, you can say that on Twitch, I guess. Well, hopefully you can at least. Snowballs, a lot of balls in this one. Another Kimchi map with some balls. It's basically the Avalanche and Landslide game type, but it's a racetrack made for the Christmas Winter Forge contest in Halo tracks, but it's raced in DRL quite a lot. It was one of the best of the year, I believe. It had like, was it one of the, because we raced it twice. Maybe it was because we raced it in the Forge contest too. I don't remember. But this is definitely one of Kimchi's most conky tracks that he's ever made, and it's a great time. Eiffel Tower, made by Wes, Yertle, and Nuked. It is a long track with, the best way to say it is a ton of shit going on. There's the balls at the start that you have to all drive through. There's some narrow bridges and collision sections. There's the narrow bridge that Darian fell off of. There is a giant drop jump that you actually have to get a good drive up to and hit it right in order to land it, or else you just barrel roll for forever. It's wild. GDQOC, a Halo 4 nuked map made for the Alphabet Forge contest. There is a lot of letters. If you look, there's a G, there's a D, there's a Q, there's an O, and there's a C. And you drive around this thing for a good while, colliding with everybody, and it's conky as hell. And then Asparagussy by Bromaniac35. It's a collision track on one of the islands of Forge World. I don't know if it's, I think it's Montana Island, or it's either Montana or Alaska. It's one of those two. But it's a double wide with some terrain sections. There's a central building in the middle that you have to slow way down and basically hit a hairpin. There's that little circle around the kill ball at the beginning of the lap. It's a classic double wide DRL track. What more can you ask for? And these SITS 11 matchups will be as follows. It will be Snowballs versus Crisscross Applesauce, Eiffel Tower versus River Rapids TRS Halo 4, excuse me, GDQOC versus Seabound Circuit, and Asparagussy versus Sunny Creek MX. And again, these are only the first round matchups. These matchups are going to advance once, I'm going to put the brackets out, like the actual Google Sheets, into the respective Discords. Actually, there's only one. I put them both in the same Google Sheet. What am I saying? And I'm going to put that sheet in the Discords for you all to look at when the stream is over. Alrighty, the 5 seeds. Motor Speedway SX, Blue Steel, Hoggers Pass, and the Roundabout. Motor Speedway SX, made by Darkstar aka Umbro72, an ORL classic map. It's a fairly simple reach supercross in a bit of a small speedway setting. Yeah, this is definitely a fun one. It's short and it's a fun time. That start finish jump is huge. Blue Steel, made by Regret. It is a multi-layered go-kart style map inside the Erosion Griffball Arena. There's some supercross elements in there, but mostly it is a GK with some craziness going on. There's no collisions, but you don't really need collisions on this track with how crazy and fun it gets. And there's definitely some tech to it too. Hoggers Pass, made by Wes, a high-speed collision track that goes back and forth through the map. You go under that middle part or you go over it. You hope you don't get collision. You go through the loop, you come back around, you go through the other loop. Very high speed, very fun. And then the Roundabout, made by Bromaniac35. It has a central roundabout in the middle with different parts of the track that you have to go through each time. You make a 90 degree at the roundabout, then you hit the dishes. You make a 90 degree turn, you go up the ramp, then you go down the night camber, then you go down the hill, then you go under the map. There's a lot of circles going around. Circle with me. Shout out fucking Spirit Box. Great fucking band. And those 5-12 matchups will be as follows. It will be Motor Speedway SX versus Grandview, two old school reach tracks going at it there. We have Blue Steel versus Finbury Drop, Hoggers Pass versus Cat Mix, And the two maps in this bracket with roundabouts, the Roundabout versus Cold Winter's Crash. Funny enough, they're the two with roundabouts in this bracket. Alrighty, the 4 seeds. What are they, ladies and gentlemen? They are Spordeef, Breakneck, Happy Piping, and Nova Scotia. Spordeef, a West creation. It is a collision terrain track. There's some shield traps in some of the double wide sections where it will launch you into a pile of boxes, which is really funny when it happens. There's the off-camber tube that is near the end of the lap that if you oversend it... Bro, there's no way Nova Scotia made it. Oh, it made it. It made it. But yeah, Spordeef has that off-camber tube. There's jumps everywhere. Fun little sections. Great map. Breakneck. Spider Case Forge this one. It is a collision map through the Reach map Breakneck. And, you basically go around that big building. You go on the road. You know what kind of map it is. It's a fun one. Ultima, I should time you out for that one, but I'm not going to. You break your neck. Okay, that's harass. Anyway, Happy Piping, made by Brendan. It's a half pipe map that you basically go back and forth. You get the checkpoints, or else Spider's gonna get mad at you because you didn't get the checkpoints. Thanks, Brendan. And then Nova Scotia, made by Og Revis, a collision course that is apparently being bombed by fusion coils for some reason. There's a joke in there somewhere, but we're making this safe for Twitch. The famous standoff that you saw in the montage between Wes and Spider also happened here. This map has also the giant, juicy filter or whatever's going on there. That's why it's super bright. Yeah. Fun map though, very fun. It's probably the longest map in this entire... It's definitely one of the longest maps in this bracket. And it finds itself as a 4 seed. And these 4-13 matchups that we're going to have now are Sporty versus Verified, Breakneck versus Daybreak, Happy Piping versus the Taint Twister, and Nova Scotia versus Garbage. Alright, 3 seeds. Spider and Ultima are about to start a war in the chat. Have at it, boys. The 3 seeds are as follows: AYM City B, Magic Conch Shell, Through the Trees, and Creeping Death. AYM City B, made by AYM X Fama City, is a city map. That's the name. We raced it twice. There were actually different layouts when we raced these each time because one of them had like adjusted checkpoints that Spider did, and then Wes decided to use the original map and it was much longer. But both are just as fun as the other. It's a great time. And funny enough, a couple months ago, when HCRL did their best of tourney with the tracks that actually, had the most votes from just the 30th track votes, this is the track that got the most votes from that tournament. So does that make it an overall favorite in this tournament? We'll wait and see. Magic Conch Shell, made by Kim Cheru. It's a narrow rock tunnel collision track in an enclosed rock. It's very small, it's close quarters, there's collisions everywhere. There's that rock tunnel that you have to go up and down. That's a fun time. It's a blast. Through the Trees, Duquesne 23, its second HCRL Trackmana's appearance, and it was a 12 seed last year, so moving on up in the world. But yeah, you go through the trees, it's a double wide, you hit some jumps, you go around a tree, you go through, you go around another tree, you collide with other people, and yeah, make sure you get the checkpoints because this track will cook you. I say that because I missed a checkpoint on this map. God damn it. And then Creeping Death, made by Brendan, Wes, and AX7 Nightmare. It was made for the Halloween Forge contest. Amongst a foggy cemetery section, there's a church in there. There's a small arena cross. Duquesne also has plus side check in this bracket. He sure does. But yeah, there's a small arena cross oval in here as well. There's a lot going on. It is one of the most cracked tracks I've seen lately, and it shows as it's one of the high seeds in the HCRL Trackmana's 2026 bracket. And these 3-14 matchups are going to be as follows. It will be AYM City B versus Groovier Grove, Magic Conch Shell versus Devil's Crossroads, Through the Trees versus Coprophemia, and Creeping Death versus River Rapids TRS Reach. 8 more tracks to go. My voice is already starting to go, boys. Pray for me. The 2 seeds. Who is Duquesne 23? I don't know, Eddie, but we'll forge a new Halo or some shit. I don't know. The 2 seeds are as follows. So No Head, Flamingo Lantern, Supercross SX, and Stigma Race. So No Head is a phallic collision track. There's a big jump in the middle with an intersection. There's some strut bumps or jumps depending on how you want to hit them. Don't fall in that hole in the middle. And then you end the lap by going up the straight bit. You go around and yeah, that's a lap. Flamingo Lantern, also made by Nuke Ice Cream, because there's always a city somewhere. It's a motocross-ish track with some street course elements and big jumps in there. Barry Barrows did a barrel roll. Welcome to DRL, son. Yeah, the voice is starting to go. It's alright. Supercross SX, made by Bromaniac 35. It's a simple Supercross, but you're crossing over a lot. In more ways than one. Your split sections everywhere too. Yeah, this is a Roman special, no doubt about it. And then Stigma Race, made by Squally the Beans and Squeeze You. No prayers until you pronounce Green Seed 15. Oh, Spider. I already did it. I'll fucking do it again, brother. Stigma Race, made by Squally the Beans and Squeeze You. A race map set around Squally the Beans' map, Stigma. Shout out Xandril S312. The dude, I played custom games with that guy before he got famous, and now he has like 1 million subscribers somehow. I don't know what the hell happened. But Stigma was a meme, and Wes decided, I'm going to make it a racetrack. And it's quite a fun one, I must say. And these 2 seed against the 15 seed matchups are going to be So No Head versus Hydro Electro, Flamingo Lantern versus Hippopotamonstroskopeliofob, Supercross SX versus Slenderman, and Stigma Race versus Premier SX. And that just leaves the 1 seeds. He stopped covering Halo, that's how. Yeah, he's doing like freaking. What map is he doing? What game is he covering now, Eddie? Yeah, he's not covering Halo, because why the hell would he? There's nothing being made in Infinite or MCC. There's stuff being made in MCC, but, you know, Duquesne's doing other stuff at this point. Alright, Sitzy tracks down. 4 to go. What are the 1 seeds? They are Chino Labopsia, Grogu's Grotto Deathstick Derby, When I Flow I Blow, and Snowy Scrubs V2. Chino Labopsia, made by Orion Hardy 84. It is a terrain collision track on Longbow. It is a linear collision track, as I like to call it. There's a narrow bridge in that central base, there's a giant wall turn at the beginning of the lap, and there's 2 buildings that you loop around and go back the other way. So, yeah, you have a linear collision track here. Yeah, that was a good one. Grogu's Grotto Deathstick Derby, made by Kimchi Aru. This has some invisible rock jumps, there's collisions everywhere, a lot of rocks everywhere, but the main feature is that shield tunnel. It is narrow, and if you get conked even a little bit, you get shifted to the side into those tunnels, you are dead. Good night. When I Flow I Blow, made by Squeeze You. A terrain collision track on erosion. It's basically a linear collision track with some intersecting ones as well. You go through the turn, you go up the hill, you come back down the hill, you go around some things, and you're conking the entire time. That's basically how it works. And then Snowy Scrubs V2, made by NJD1 himself, Mr. Nick Jawornik, Oscar Wiggins, a classic TRS collision track on Longbow and Halo 4. You watch the snowman, you watch out for the shortcut, you hit the jumps, you hit the split section at the end. Classic track to close out the 64 that have made it into HCRL Track Madness 2026. And those 1/16 matchups are Chino Leopsia versus Mammoth, Grogu's Grotto Deathstick Derby versus Splashdown, When I Flow I Blow versus Squimchy Arzu, and Snowy Scrubs V2 versus Rooftops SX. I will leave this up for a few minutes. These are the first round matchups of HCRL Track Madness 2026.